And welcome back to the First and Goal podcast. My name is Lewis. Next to me, as always, is my beautiful co-host, Laraib, as we are here to break down week 9 of the NFL season on a spooktacular Halloween episode. We're so happy for y'all to join us. Week 9, we are officially past the midway point of the NFL season. Starting to know what direction these teams are going in, but a lot of teams still in flux and some really exciting games to determine the direction of a lot of these teams this week, Laraib. So really excited to get to it. We did not film our last episode on Tuesday, breaking down week 8, but we will be back next week to film our official mid-season recap at that point, award show, things like that. So if you want to tune into that episode, that will be next week, Laraib. But looking forward now, you ready to hop into these games?
Definitely a spooky week. I mean, I know we're supposed to have a tell on some of these teams, but man, when I was looking at some of these games, it was just flipping a coin who I want to pick. But I still have a 5-3 lead in the pick. So maybe I have a week I can give something up, Lewis. But let's go ahead and jump into our first game. We have the Cowboys going to Atlanta to play the Falcons. Falcons are favored by 3 at home. And, this is just a tale of two teams, Lewis, who subpar defenses, and then, they're veteran quarterbacks who we expect to lead them throughout the season. And one of those guys has been performing, and the other one, not so much. Kirk Cousins, even after that Achilles tear from last season, has come in, maybe a slow couple weeks, but now he's really started to pick things up and he's been gelling, right? So Kyle Pitts have 2 touchdowns last week. Drake London, who's been amazing so far this season. And then on the other side, Dak Prescott, and what has been a little bit of a disappointing season. We knew they were going to throw the ball a lot more, be a really pass-heavy offense, especially with, those 2 dinosaurs at the running back position. But still, the way they've looked the past couple of weeks has not been great. And so that's why I'm really leaning Falcons in this game. I think no defense is going to be played whatsoever, but I just trust the weapons on this Falcons offensive side a lot more.
You mentioned a lot of good things there, Laura, and I think the biggest difference, because these teams really do mirror each other in a lot of ways. Just a lot of different ties that can be teams, but one of the biggest things distinguishes these two teams is the Falcons' ability to run the ball. And they've really been able to do that all season long behind this powerful offensive line. Bijan, Tyler Algier is the starter for the Falcons, but behind this rushing attack, they're able to set up a lot of things in the pass game, and they have, good weapons on the outside. And in the involvement of Kyle Pitts as well, a lot more in the offense opens up a lot, especially for the guys on the outside. Hopefully Drake London has a few more targets in this game. But you mentioned it, Rico Dowdle's status is still up in the air entering this game. So you mentioned the 2 fossils in the backfield trying to get the running game going. And not just the thing with the Cowboys is, without being able to really control that short game, that running the ball, that possession type of football, it's going to be really hard for them, especially going on the road against a team who can do that, to just play effective, complementary football. Is if they score too quick, defense right back on the field, defense going to get gassed by the run game, and then your offense has to respond. So I'm looking at this spot for the Cowboys. Really don't like it here on the road. This tough stretch of games that we've been talking about, Lions, 49ers, now at Atlanta. I think for Atlanta to really put their stamp on this division and secure it, they could do that this week. Give me the Falcons here, 27 to Dallas 23.
And I'm going to go a little bit higher scoring. I like the Falcons 33 to 27. Now, I will say we've seen this Falcons team at home put up stinkers. That Seahawks loss 2 weeks ago where they couldn't generate any offense. But I just think this Cowboys team is just a sorry organization with a sorry GM and a sorry owner, and they're going to walk into this building and get run all over.
$45 to get a tour of the facility. It's very distracting, the players say. Anywho, let's go ahead and move on to another noon game. We have the Denver Broncos traveling to Baltimore to face the Ravens. Both teams sitting with a 5-3 record, 2 very different expectations from the fans. If you're a Broncos fan, you're on the moon, you're 5-3. If you're a Ravens fan, little disappointed that you're 5-3 given the circumstances of the season. Big addition for the Ravens. Oh, I should mention Ravens 8.5-point favorites at home. Big addition acquired for the Ravens via trade. Deontay Johnson from Carolina rejoins the AFC North, but in the other team with the Baltimore Ravens. Just adding another weapon for Lamar Jackson in this offense. He's probably not going to get a ton of burn in this game, but he's a smart guy. Just another option for the Ravens, especially how disastrous the passing game was last week, and not on fault of Lamar. It was all the drops. Even the defensive backs were dropping the ball. No one could catch for the Ravens last week. So getting that extra blanket of security, especially against a defense like Denver and their secondary, Pat Surtain is playing in this game. That front seven, which has been playing very elite football, I think they're really going to put Baltimore to the test. This 8.5-point line is disrespectful to Denver, who's just found a way to stay in games, even early on in the season. This team really hasn't gotten blown out this season, and they've been playing a lot better football. Bo Nix has really turned up his game in the past few weeks. Probably his best game of the year, albeit against the Panthers. Everyone has probably their best game of the year. But against this Baltimore secondary, this is where I think the biggest problem I have with picking the Broncos in this game is because the Broncos just don't have the talent on the outside to expose Baltimore's biggest weakness, and that is their secondary. Courtland Sutton's just a vertical threat pass guy, and no other weapon on the outside really scares me for the Broncos. So I think that if they're not able to attack Baltimore that way, they just don't have the firepower to keep up with Lamar. This defense is good, but it's not that good. So I'm leaning Ravens in this one.
I'm heavily leaning Ravens on this one.
Oh.
I think you're disrespecting them by saying this 8.5 is too much. The Broncos have been playing very well, Lewis. They're beating teams that they should beat, right? They beat the Panthers. They beat your Saints. They beat the Raiders. They've had these good wins against bad teams, which you can't discredit them for, right? You can't discredit them for doing that. That's what good teams do. They beat on teams they should beat. But now they're facing a whole nother monster. We're talking about teams who are going to be grateful for making the playoffs and another team who's trying to win a Super Bowl. I've seen this, last week, the Seahawks, they're being disrespected at home, +3, they're at home. The Seahawks are playing very well. And the Buffalo Bills march into town and they whoop their ass. That is what the Ravens are going to do this week to the Bronco team. I'm predicting, a 10-point win right here. Now, this Ravens defense has been porous, but Bo Nix, he's going to have a couple picks in this one. They're not going to get the offense moving as well. And Lamar Jackson, he's going to show this defense what a real quarterback looks like. So give me the Ravens 30-20.
Yeah, I'm picking the Ravens as well. I think this is going to be a lot lower scoring of a game than you predicted. I think the Ravens are going to win this game 16-10, but it's going to be an ugly, scrappy game. I think this Baltimore defense has their best game of the season, albeit against a really, figuring it out offense. I just don't think they have the firepower to really keep up with some of the explosive plays that Baltimore can manage. But I think this defense for Denver is legit, and it will give them a chance to stay in this game, potentially win it. But I'm not going to go that far. I am picking the Ravens in this matchup. But Laraib, let's go ahead and move on to our next game. We have, speaking of your Seattle Seahawks, hosting the Los Angeles Rams. Rams are favored by 1.5 points at home, Laraib, believe it or not. Don't they realize the Seahawks are at home in this game? Why would the Rams be favored?
CenturyLink Field used to be an advantage.
Lumen.
Now Lumen Field, there's been no advantage at Lumen Field. I'll tell you that much. And this Rams team, Lewis, have looked really impressive last week. What they did to the Vikings, when you get Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua back in, surprise, that offense really picks it back up. What really shocked me was that defense. Right, we thought those first couple of drives of the Vikings got whatever they wanted offensively, and then the Rams really picked it up. Jared Verse, rookie outside linebacker, has played fantastic football this season. And I think the Seahawks team, Lewis, is just an embarrassment. They've been depleted offensively. We see what they look like with no DK Metcalf, and he's still questionable for this game with the MCL.
Could play.
And even if he plays, this Rams team, they have a knack of just coming into Seattle and laying the wood on us, a la last year, week 1. And so I just think this Rams team playing a lot better football, and they're in a lot better position right here. Kyron Williams, Christian McCaffrey 2.0. This guy has touchdown in 15 straight weeks, I think.
Talk to me.
I mean, he's going to have another 2 here, possibly. Give me the Rams 30-24.
Yeah, I've flip-flopped on this game, Laraib. And I was leaning heavy Seahawks because I'm like, home divisional game, I feel like it's getting an underdog at home in division for a team they're very familiar with each other. It's very similar, but now you have Mike McDonald there, some new blood defensively, but I can't get there, Laraib. I saw how impressive, that game was for the Rams last week, getting their, Cooper Cup, Puka Nacua back. They didn't trade Cooper Cup. They silenced all that noise, and now they're locked in on making a full playoff push. I think they go into Seattle, a team that you mentioned is floundering right now, Laraib. I mean, after starting the season 3-0, they're now 1-4 in their last 4 games. And it's just like, it's, which side of the ball wants to just screw up this game? Is it the defense that's going to get blown up every single play? Or is it the offense that's just going to turn the ball over all the time? The unreliability has really concerned me. And I honestly, now I'm really thinking 1.5 is disrespectful to the Rams, because Rams coming off a bye, have the extra, prepare, prep. And, Sean McVay off a bye is a different type, or a mini bye, coming off a Thursday night football game. He's a different type of coach. And I just don't see it yet for Mike McDonald. They have the defensive personnel, but I'm seeing effort problems. I'm just saying misassignments all over the field. Guys like Reek Woolen, letting the Seahawks faithful down. I haven't heard Witherspoon's name in a while. But I'm going with the Rams as well in this game. I think it's going to be not a fun game for Seahawks faithful. I'm going to go 34-20.
Well, let's go ahead and move on to another game we have in the 3 o'clock slate. We have the Detroit Lions going to Green Bay to play the Packers in what is going to be a huge divisional
Awesome
showdown.
Game.
The Lions favored by 3, Lewis, and I have to agree with that line. These are two teams. The Packers have not lost since September, and we're going to be done with October by the time these two teams come to play. But Jordan Love, injured that groin. Jair Alexander on the injury report. Josh Jacobs on the injury report. Evan Williams, rookie safety, on the injury report. He's been playing very good football. And this is just a tough spot for them, in a close win against the Jaguars last week, where a lot of your guys get beat up. Meanwhile, this Lions team really got to coast against those Titans. And I just think, if they were healthy, if Jordan Love was fully healthy, I feel like he would have been able to expose this Lions secondary, similar to what Mason Rudolph did last week. But I just think this is going to be a tough spot, and potentially Malik Willis time here. I just think the Lions are playing very good football. And what they've really been doing exceptionally well, Lewis, the Lions have, is capitalizing off of turnovers. I think they have the most points scored after a turnover from the opposing team. And Jordan Love, if he comes in, we know he's a pure gunslinger in my book, someone who's not afraid to have those, deep shots, triple coverage throws. If he throws 1 or 2 picks in this game, you very easily feel like the Lions could win this one.
Yeah, I agree with you, Laraib. I just think, I've been kind of lower on the Lions. The beginning of the season was really starting to sink into me. But watching them the past few weeks, just the sign of a great team. And it honestly reminds me a lot of the 2018 New Orleans Saints team with Mark Ingram, Alvin Kamara, Drew Brees at playing, towards the twilight of his career, but still extremely high level. Finished second in MVP voting behind Mahomes that year. And what made that team special was their ability to control games with their offensive line. And that is what the Lions are doing right now. And the Packers up front just don't really get that much pressure. They send a lot of blitzes, and they have some ballers in the secondary. But when teams are having long sustained drives, the Packers are 16th in the league in yards per game by opposing teams. They really just get a lot of their stuff from turnovers. Guys like Xavier McKinney, who's, up right up there in the defensive player of the year race with over 6 interceptions this season already. He's been balling out. But you mentioned it, Jair banged up. And then the biggest thing for me is just Jordan Love and his ability in this game, because if a fully healthy Jordan Love, I'll tell you right now, I'm picking the Packers to win this game, because I think these two teams are the two best teams in the NFC. And this game being in Green Bay does mean a lot for me. But the way he played last week and having Malik Willis come in, and he clearly just was not right whatsoever. I just can't trust, because you mentioned it, the mistakes are going to be paid for with this Lions team and how aggressive they are. So I can't in good faith pick the Packers in this one. I am going with the Lions in a closer game. Lions eke it out 31-28.
And I'm also going Lions 30-27. A late Jake Bates field goal puts the Lions up as they win a huge divisional game here, Lewis. But let's go ahead and move on to our last highlighted game. We have the Tampa Bay Buccaneers going to Kansas City to play the Chiefs. The Chiefs are favored by an entire 8.5 points. And we saw this Buccaneers team last week really put up a good effort against the Falcons, and a lot of that was on the ground, right? Bucky Irving, really good running back, rookie running back. He's playing fantastic football. But what did this Chiefs defense do, Lewis? They stop the run. If they can do anything, they can stop your rushing attack. I think that's what they're going to do in this game, and it's going to be a lot on Baker Mayfield's shoulder. And I talked about it last week, right? Without those weapons, his two wide receivers out there, he's going to make some plays. Kate Otten had a great week. Jalen McMillan, had a overall good outing, but still they came up short to the Falcons. And now when you really can't run the ball and set up that patented, Baker Mayfield play action pass deep, I think they're really going to struggle.
Yeah, Laraib, I agree with you here. I just think that the strength of this team, not only, is their rush defense, but I feel like it was bolstered with the trade acquisition of Josh Uche from the Patriots for basically nothing, a conditional 7th-round pick. That the condition is a swap, and the 7th-round pick for the Patriots versus the Chiefs, I guess it's a difference of 31 picks probably, but that late in the draft. I mean, who would you even draft the last pick in the draft? Like Brock Purdy? I don't know. But yeah, I just think that this Buccaneers offense is going to face a lot of problems in this game. And it being in Kansas City, where it's like, dang, has every big game Kansas City played this season has been in their stadium? The answer to that question is literally yes. Every single big game, except for if you want to say the Sunday night game in Atlanta, has been in Kansas City, and that continues for them here. And I just think the Chiefs are just such a well-oiled machine now. DeAndre Hopkins had some moments in that game last week. I think he gets a lot more burn in this one against a Tampa defense that was just destroyed last week by the Falcons. I think the Chiefs, they had a good offensive showing against the Raiders. I think they have another good showing here. I'm going with the Chiefs 31 to Buccaneers 17.
And I'm going to go with the Chiefs 27-20 as the Buccaneers cover. But the Kansas City Chiefs move on to 8-0.
All right, Laura. Well, that's our highlighted games of the week. Let's go ahead and move on to the other rest of the slate in rapid fashion, starting with a truly Halloween-themed horror movie of a game. Two spiraling franchises. The Carolina Panthers are traveling to Carolina. They're playing at home. And they're playing my New Orleans Saints. I'm wearing the horror costume right now in spirit of Halloween. New Orleans favored by 7 points on the road, Laraib. And you know what? I think it's fair. As bad as the Saints have been, you get Derek Carr back this week, which is a plus, but I don't even want to talk about the game. Good thing we put in the rapid things. I'm picking the Saints 31 to Carolina 13 because Carolina sucks.
And I'm also going with the Saints. I just think, the Panthers are the worst football team in the NFL currently. And the Saints defense, they have the pleasure of playing Bryce Young for the second time this season. Please get me a pick six. I'm starting that Saints defense in fantasy. So I'm going to go ahead and pick the Saints 30-17.
Laura, the Panthers have 1 win this season and 7 losses. And all 7 of those losses, they have trailed by 17 or more points in every single one. Crazy they beat the Raiders. We'll get to them. Next on up, we have the Miami Dolphins with Tua back, traveling to Buffalo to face the Bills. Bills favored by 6. This is a divisional rematch. We saw this game in week 2. Tua did play for the majority of this game, and he played awfully. So he's had this one circled, ready to come back with a vengeance, and I love the Bills here. I'm picking the Bills.
Yeah, we saw with the Dolphins last week, the offense, they get a little uptick with Tua back in, but that defense is still that defense, right? I think Josh Allen, who's only had 1 turnover this entire season, just continues to play at an exceptionally high level. They lead the league in takeaways, Lewis's Bills defense does, and they have the second highest point differential in the NFL. I think the Bills easily win this one. Will be a great lock of the week. I like the Bills 30-25.
55 degrees in Buffalo. I don't know if we've hit the Tua threshold for how cold it's going to be, but we're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely. Next on up, speaking of the Raiders, Raiders traveling to Cincinnati. Cincy favored by 7 in this game. I'm going with the Bengals here. Not much to really explain. I just don't really love the vibe of the Raiders. It just keeps getting worse and worse and worse as the season goes along. So I am picking the Bengals.
Yeah, same reasoning. Raiders bottom 5 team in the NFL. Give me the Bengals 30-20.
All right, we have the Chargers traveling to Cleveland. Chargers favored by 1.5 points on the road. I love this line for the Chargers here. But Jameis Winston's back. He's the man. I think the public's going to be huge on the Browns here. Two extremely lovable guys, Nick Chubb, Jameis Winston, win against Baltimore. I think there's a huge back to earth moment here. I think the Chargers really found something with Ladd McConkey last week in their passing game. Justin Herbert do a more, and that's really helping them. So I am going to go with the Chargers 36 to no, excuse me, 26 to Cleveland 17.
And I'm also going to go with the Chargers, Lewis. I mean, everyone's really high on Jameis and great for him after that win last week, but he had 2 or 3 balls that should have been easily intercepted. And I think he comes back down to earth a little bit like this week, like you said. So give me the Chargers. I think there's going to be a close defensive battle, but Justin Herbert throws a deep one late to give them and to get them into field goal range. Give me the Chargers 23-20.
All right, on up, we have probably the second worst matchup of the week. We have the New England Patriots traveling to Tennessee to face the Titans. Tennessee favored by 3.5 points at home after losing by 50. Interesting. That's how bad the Patriots are, Laraib. But I'm picking the Patriots here. I think they go on the road. Yeah, you thought you were going to get one, huh? Go ahead and flip. Drake May is better than whenever the freaking Titans are going to roll out. And I think he hit a tough showing, the concussion and everything, but they still managed to beat the Jets last week. And now you're telling me that the Titans of all teams are going to take them down? Not taking it. Give me the Patriots 20 to Titans 13.
Oh, man.
Come on.
Come on. I just really love the Patriots in this situation. I mean, the Titans, their defense is solid. I think they've given up the least amount of yards per game basis, but they've given up like the 7th most points. So overall, it's their special teams that's really lacking. With Mason Rudolph out there or Will Levis, I just think does not matter. Christian Gonzalez is going to be the best player on the field in this game. He plays for the Patriots, so give me the Patriots 17-14.
All right, next on up, we have the Washington Commanders traveling to the Giants to face New York. Washington favored by 4 points on the road. Huge win for Washington last week as the Hail Maryland, I think that's what they're calling it, goes through. They beat the Bears, not in Chicago, though. It was in Washington. I just think, that excitement, does it bring them down? Does it shake their confidence? It doesn't matter because the Giants still know Andrew Thomas this week, are a completely inept offense without him. Tyrone Tracy did show me something last week, but I think this Commanders defense is really starting to shape into form. Dan Quinn's really starting to put his imprint on this team, and Jaden Daniels is just that dude. And I think the Commanders sweep the Giants this season, and I have them winning 23-18.
And I think that from the last time these two teams matched up and the Giants did not have a kicker, and if they did, they would have won that game. Now, again, they're matching up in New York.
Yoink.
Give me the Giants. Tyrone Tracy with the concussion on Monday Night Football was practicing on Wednesday. It's going to be a game time decision, but I have a really good feeling that he's going to play. And I think Daniel Jones, after not scoring a touchdown, rushing or passing at home for the past God knows how long.
726 days.
I think they get 1, they get 2, they get 3, they get 4 in this one and beat the Commanders, who may have been flying a little bit too high. Give me the Giants 28-20.
Now, this is a man who's up 2 weeks in the picks right here. But let's go ahead to our next game. 3:00 slate. We have the Jacksonville Jaguars traveling to Philly to face the Eagles. Philly favored by 7.5. Jaguars just traded their starting left tackle for basically nothing. It just seems like they're punting on this season already. Just another wasted year of Trevor Lawrence's career. Doug Peterson's on his way out. Even in how poetic would his last game of the season be in Philly, where he won a Super Bowl and has a statue outside the stadium? How poetic would it be if it was also his last game in Jacksonville? I'm going with the Eagles in this one, 34 to Jacksonville 20.
Yeah, I mean, this Jags team's dealing with injuries. Christian Kirk out for the year. Brian Thomas Jr. dealing with an injury. Travis Etienne, just not that guy.
Not good.
Give me the
Yeah.
Eagles. You called it last week. They played a really good game against the Bengals, Lewis. It looks like they're starting to turn things up on the defensive side of the ball. Look for them. Hey, you still lost last week, by the
Okay.
way.
Okay.
Just letting you know.
Golly.
And with the Eagles really turning it up. That Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley stack is about to go crazy this
Whoever
week in
has that is
fantasy.
really smart.
Give me the Eagles 30-21.
All right. Next one up, we have the failing end of the Hail Maryland. I like that, by the way. We have the Chicago Bears traveling to Arizona to face the Cardinals. Cardinals here by 1.5 points. And if there's anything I know about the Cardinals this season, is they'll have one great game and follow it up with a what the hell was that? Here comes the what the hell is that game, even though it's 2 games in a row at home. The Bears defense is still legit. And if that Hail Mary didn't happen, I feel like they'd be favored in this game. And two teams coming off, two completely different games. Cardinals winning game winner in their game as well. And I just think that the range of emotions here, especially for an immature Cardinals team that just loves to blow it, I'm going with the Bears, Chicago. Not in Chicago, though. 23-16.
And I'm also going with the
Oh,
Bears. The Cardinals favored by 1.5. That's Vegas basically telling you, this is a pick 'em. And
mm-hmm.
that's because the Cardinals have been trailing every single fourth quarter this year. And they've pulled some out of their asses to get some, nice wins. But realistically, this is just a team who, like you mentioned, they're up and down every other week versus a Bears defense who's really just trying to get their get back after an embarrassing last week. I think Caleb Williams, maybe not the greatest game against the Commanders, but a nice spot for him to bounce back. I think the Bears win this one 27-24.
All right. And then finally, Laraib, we have Sunday Night Football. The Indianapolis Colts traveling to Minnesota to face the Vikings. Minnesota favored by 5 points at home. And I like Minnesota in this matchup, Laraib. I really think the Vikings, this Joe Flacco renaissance, they're switching things up. I think the Vikings come out and they win this game. Sam Darnold, it is Halloween today, but it will end next week. And I think that's when he comes back into form. This Colts team, just really weird locker room vibes, very strange. Give me the Minnesota Vikings.
And I'm also going with the Minnesota Vikings. I think, after their mini bye where they kind of, failed to generate any offense in that second half against the Rams, really pick it up here with Aaron Jones and Justin Jefferson against this Colts defense, led by Gus Bradley, who just isn't that good as a defensive coordinator. And then Joe Flacco, Bazooka Joe, he's going to throw some ducks out there. Can he capitalize? Now, there is a world where this Colts team comes into Minnesota and wins this game, Lewis. We've seen some of these veteran quarterbacks who don't fold under that blitzing pressure that Brian Flores likes to dial up. Matthew Stafford last week, the Lions 2 weeks ago. If Joe Flacco can stand tall in that pocket, really get the run game going, hit the ball to Josh Downs deep a couple times, they have a shot. But I just think the Vikings off of, a rest, I think they can get it done at home in a close game. The Vikings 27-24.
All right, well, that's going to do it for our picks of the week. But before we go, we have our locks up.
Well, we have one more game to get to, Lewis.
We do.
That is tonight. The Houston Texans are in New York playing the Jets. 2-6 versus 6-2, Lewis. And
wait,
I am going.
Wait, what am I looking at here?
And I'm going with the 2-6 team. Maybe the New York Jets. They've dropped 5 in a row. But this Texans team, Lewis, they play god awful on the road. We saw them lose to the Carolina Panthers last year in Carolina. We saw CJ Stroud go into Green Bay, put up less than 100 yards. And I think with Tank Dell, without Nico Collins, without Stephon Diggs, I think that they're really going to struggle offensively. Their offensive line, Lewis, has been playing awful. Really bad penalties, really bad sacks given up to CJ Stroud. I think the Jets turn it up in this one. Huge Garrett Wilson game as Aaron Rodgers gets the win on Thursday Night Football. Huge Greg Zuerlein kick finally puts the Jets over. Give me the Jets 23-20.
Yeah, you're completely off base. You're telling me that the oldest, most injury prone, most eclectic, biggest dumpster fire is going to go on a short week and beat a well-coached team with D'Amico Ryans in that defense, which has still been playing well. It's just the offense that needed to get a few kinks out. Obviously, losing Stephon Diggs and no Nico is a huge thing, but that doesn't matter because Joe Mixon is healthy and this Jets defense is Swiss cheese in the middle. So they're going to set up the run and they're going to play the play action, get Tank Dell on a few bombs. Boom, boom, go the Texans tonight. Oh, I'm excited. I forgot we didn't pick this game. I'm glad you did that. 2.5-point favorites. The Jets. Laura, the Jets have beaten two teams this year, the Titans and the Patriots. And the Patriots avenged that loss last week. They are legitimately a bad team. And sure, the Texans aren't that great on the road, but they're playing an awful team. Give me the Texans 26, the Jets 13.
Thank goodness you picked the Texans. Now I can go 6-3 in the picks, Lewis. Well, that will wrap up our week 9 prediction. Before we let y'all go, I want to give you our locks and upsets of the week. And for my upset, I'm going with the New York team as well in this one. Give me the Giants, Lewis. Last four teams to win off a Hail Mary have lost a consecutive week. A huge emotional win for the Commanders, and they get brought right back down to earth after underestimating Daniel Jones and Tyrone Tracy and Malik Neighbors. Give me the Giants as my upset.
Yeah, Laraib, and I thought, I had you a little switch and bait there because I
Yeah,
had a team for an upset. But then as we're recording, I saw a few line changes. And the one team stood out to me, Laraib, the team we
don't be the
both
Lions.
picked. It's the New England Patriots at Tennessee. Are you kidding me? 3.5 points? That's free money. I'm picking the Patriots as my upset.
I do not hate that pick, Lewis. And
You picked them.
for my lock, I'm going with the Minnesota Vikings. I think there's a huge spot for them on Sunday Night Football. It is not pumpkin time yet for Sam Darnold. Just throw the ball to Justin Jefferson and get a win here on Sunday Night Football.
My lock is the Buffalo Bills. I think the Tua return is a little bit over exaggerated. There are much bigger problems with this Miami team, including that defense, which is Swiss cheese. The Bills team is starting to lock in. This game being in Buffalo, 55 degrees, a little chillier than normal. I'm picking the Bills as my lock. And then best bets of the week, Larab. I have the Los Angeles Chargers, 1.5-point favorites against Cleveland. Cleveland is not a good team, and I think they're getting a little too much favor from that win last week. I think the Chargers go in there and handle business.
And I'm going with the Los Angeles Rams. Give me the other Los Angeles teams, both of them on the road this week, but I really like the Rams at 1.5. This is just disrespectful to them, how well they've been playing versus how bad the Seahawks have been playing. I really like that 1.5 line for the Rams.
All right, Laraib, well, that's going to do it for our week 9 picks. Thank you so much for everyone who's gotten to this point in the video. An exciting, spooktacular episode, if I should say so myself, on this Halloween, Hallows Eve. And Laraib, just awesome week. We can't wait to get into it. And then obviously next week, our mid-season breakdown. Super excited to get into that episode. Awesome slate of games to look forward to. Anything you want to say before you head out of here?
I think this First and Go podcast signing off.
Peace.